Hello, everybody. What's up? Back for a delayed state of the market for June. It's now July 7th, so yeah, but whatever. I mean, nothing changed. We can still go back and talk about history. So, Al, how you doing, brother?
I'm hanging in there. How you doing, Bill?
Good. Yeah, just enjoying the summer and the warmth it's providing. So. We don't get a lot of heat here in Michigan, so
I was
we
just
gotta
gonna say,
enjoy it when we get it.
warmth and in Michigan is good.
Yeah, we only get like 4 months of that, so
It's funny. When I talk to people in Canada pretty much every week because of one of my businesses, and when I ask them, "Hey, how are things going?" and they're like, "Well, it's not white on the ground, so it's a good day," and I'm like,
yeah.
"Wow, man, that's brutal."
Yeah. One of my friends just visited the Upper Peninsula of Michigan last week, and he said that they haven't gotten over like 60 some degrees yet. So it's like holy shit, I mean, that's just crazy to think that. I mean, it's only like a 4 or 5 hour drive north of me, and it's just such a different climate. So
Right.
But speaking of heat, that's what we call a transition.
Nice. I love that.
Thank
well
you.
done, William.
Yeah. There was some heat in the Golden auction and the PWCC Premier auction. And yeah, so I kind of had to do some digging. I'm still kind of a challenge for me to find the history easily.
Yeah, I agree. It's not simple.
I feel like it should be easier for me, at least for like old people with less complex internet brains. So anyway, why don't we hop into the PWCC auction first, and we'll see what the heck they had going on. All right, PWCC. And so this also has different like previous auctions like Mays, but like here where the best rookie is where we start, and then I'm going to scroll up, which is the rest that ended in the middle of June.
Right.
So yeah, this is we may as well start out with a doozy. And actually, before we get going, do you have any thoughts on the month? Like, is there anything that's like,
Yeah, you mean like high level thoughts?
Sure, high level, yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think it's even more confirming the market's current preference for true rarity. I think that we've seen this going on a lot for the last, I don't know, I want to say at a slow pitch for the last 18 months, I think a creep. And now I think it's gotten like a snowball type of velocity.
Yeah.
Where I think that the condition rarities, especially in pre-modern, but even in vintage are struggling a bit. Not entirely though, because, as we'll see, that PSA 7 Maradona disc, set a record. So, I think that, but in general, I think there's definitely a market preference off of these auctions, which don't have a lot of pre-war. I mean, we went from no pre-war sales of $10,000 or more publicly, at least, to certainly one big public one and a lot of whispers of other ones of real transactions. So, I think that acceleration is certainly something that I've noticed, in the market, and continued, softness in lots of other areas, especially the more common cards, and especially in mid to lower collector type grades. So I think that's my overall view. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we were just having a conversation in a DM with Scott, and it definitely seems like 60s and forward, maybe probably 58 and forward, maybe the non-major cards, that are there's decent quantity out there, seem to be super soft. And then also we're starting to see some cards that we haven't seen come out, recently. Actually hit, cards that are hitting the market that we haven't seen much of in the last few years. So, like, the Kamler Sorosi, that now we've seen 3 of those in the last month, where we had only seen 4 or 5 of those in the last decade. So,
yep.
And then there's just other. It seems like there's more cards hitting the market that we haven't seen in a while. I mean, there's stuff online right now that I would have never thought anybody would be releasing, and here we are. We're seeing it for sale. So I think we're seeing people start to loosen, their stronghold on items. Maybe the market is affecting people, and they just want to move their money around. So if you're a collector, or you're somebody who's looking, this might be a prime time to buy. If you have
it's always super hard. It's always super hard to time a market.
Totally.
So I don't. But I think, honestly, just from my vantage point, if a couple of things happen. Number one, if the general market stabilize, like we don't go into a significant recession, and if the trading card markets, which are risky assets by their nature, does well over time, then I think that we, this is not going to be a bad time to come in on most items, especially those that have true rarity. That's going to be my guess. If we fast forward 5 years out after this, whether we have a soft landing or whether we go into a recession, and we see the sports card market take off, I think that we're going to see a real look back on this time as a real opportunity.
Yep.
I had an interview for PSA about soccer cards that I don't know when that's going to come out, and I thought it was so funny. The person interviewing me is not a soccer card collector, but he described it. He's like, well, how was it to collect, to be in a fringe part of the hobby that not a lot of people cared about, for a long period of time. And I thought about that comment. And by the way, that wasn't a derogatory thing.
No.
It was like, hey, and it's like, now this segment literally went from a complete fringe, buried in multi-sport, other category, to clearly the number 4 category in the sports section after NBA, MLB, and NFL, displacing a century-old sport that has a ton of tradition and history and following, which is NHL, in short order.
Yeah.
And it did get me thinking. It's like, yeah, well, there's amazing demographics. It's the global sport. As PSA opens in Europe, even more and more demand. And you just look at this stuff, and then you couple that with limited supply. Most of the issues are in a specific country with far less people than the U.S. has, or had anytime any of these things are issued. And just by that, it just creates not only so many opportunities to buy things that's so diverse and interesting, but also real rarity when you compare to the other sports. Yeah. Because of how all cards generally are issued. There's going to be exceptions. The World Cup stickers, right, every 4 years, especially since 1990. But, you look around and you think about that, and I'm like, yeah, it was a completely fringe, weirdos. Anytime we were on Net 54, nobody, how many people would respond to our post there?
And didn't we get lumped in with hockey at some point? Like, it was just...
we were like, yeah, like I think we were like soccer, cricket,
and tennis or some
hockey,
shit. Yeah.
Tennis. No, not even hockey. I think hockey may have had their own. I think it was like tennis, cricket, and soccer or something.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe badminton and billiards.
That's
right?
For you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And so but we, we'd go on there, and it'd be like you post something, you come back in a week and see if one of the 5 people that check it saw your message.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, it was glorious in one way, and it was sad in another way. You know, it was like, oh my god, you know, just the shit we could buy, like it was fantastic. But yeah, it's just so cool now, like with being able to, you know, experience just this boom. It's just so cool to kind of see the interest grow and kind of be, you know, it's kind of validating in a bit, you know, just of kind of we kind of saw that this would happen, and then now it is. So makes me feel good that I can at least prognosticate something. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like, you know, buying, like when I'm saying it's now might be the time to buy, I'm just saying now might be the time to buy because like there's going to be things available that may not be available at other times. In a recession, if it is a recession, is an amazing time to buy because
Yeah.
people, you know, unfortunately are going to have to use that money for real life stuff and or other more important stuff. So things are going to loosen up and you're going to have a great chance to get something that you may never have gotten otherwise. So that's where I think now is the time to start paying attention to things that are available because once they get into certain hands, they're never coming out. So, you know, we know many of those on the Discord. So, yeah, interesting times for sure. Definitely, I'm trying to stay disciplined in what I'm spending my money on right now because everything looks like a deal, right? Like everything's starting to soften, and you know, it's like, okay, well, this looks like a deal, but is it a deal in a year if we are in a recession? You know, and is it how many more of those will be available? And you know, so really trying to, you know, kind of, you know, focus my vision into a very small, you know, area, and hopefully that works out. But you know, maybe I'll miss deals because I am going to be laser focused. You know.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think yeah, I mean I think it's just it's a good time. I'm buying a lot of, you know, rare pieces, and most of the time it's about if you find something you don't have or you don't think you would find another or you've never seen it before, which is like the extra plus category,
Right.
then you know I'm buying more, you know, the last couple months or spending more money, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe is a better way to say it than I have, you know, probably since last year. Probably.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of the thoughts on the market. I'm not overly concerned. I know that a lot of stuff is down relative to the highs, but you know, I still think that you know, these are relative. If you calibrate back to our vantage points, I still think these are strong prices, and they're in a nice solidification phase to provide a platform for future growth on a lot of these cards.
Yeah, we're not done growing. That's for damn sure, right? It's just you might have to weather the storm a little bit and the softness, and you know. But when we come out the other side, I'm still very, you know, bullish, I guess. So, but I mean, of course, everybody knows that.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody to, you know, potentially buy a card for 5,000 and see it trade down to, you know, 3,000 or 2,500 and still feel good about buying yours for 5,000 because you think that there's value there in the long term. You know, so I would, you know, but some people that stresses them out a lot. Like, you know, if I bought a Messi 71 bits for 10 grand and same card's trading for 4,000, you know, mentally I feel like, oh my God, I lost $6,000.
Right.
You know, I don't necessarily get too worked up about that. But if you do get worked up about it, then I would carefully watch how much money you invest in any card market.
100%.
You know, but let's get to it, man.
All right. So we have this PSA 7. George Best went for 30 grand. I'm trying to recall like what the previous had sold for, but there was the one that was really beat up, right?
Well, it was the one that had that smudge on it. That
yeah, was it was like a 6.5 or something.
What's that?
Was it a 6.5?
I think it may have been a 7 too, and it sold for like 8 grand or 7 grand or something. So this is obviously, this looks like a 7. It's a very sharp card, and the first 7 traded at like what 50 in the mid 50s. So this is a significant recalibration, but a significant appreciation for the quality of this card versus the last one. So, I think it's probably right around where, I probably thought it would have gone a touch lower than this given the market sentiment, but, I'm pleasantly surprised. You?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's pretty solid based on where we're at. I'm actually just trying to pull up what the last few sold for, and I don't think that PSA has all those things updated, but yeah, I think it's pretty reasonable based on what we had seen previously, and I'm glad that it's nice to see people are bidding. And then this is something I noticed when I was reviewing these 2 auctions. It really feels like people have taken the time to actually review the cards. Like, I mean, there might have been a few that I questioned, but like most of them, I feel like, you saw like a major discount based on the grade, because of the conditions. So like this is a super sharp one. I think that, at the end of the day, this might be the best 7 we see. And so I feel like, it's good to pay strong on something like that. Because when we do get to AI, you're going to feel pretty confident when you go in, like if AI grading. So
yeah,
I feel like that's probably a good buy here. Because I was trying to remember back when kind of everything blew up and somebody had posted I think it was a PSA 9 on PWCC and their fixed sales. This was when they were still on eBay for like $25K, and I think it sold, and we were like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Like, so even, I mean, I can't imagine, like, aside from centering, that one was that much better than this one. You know?
This is just drop dead gorgeous, and even the centering is pretty good, slightly off.
Yeah,
but I mean, when you just look at the card, it's awesome colors. So yeah, I mean, I think that I'd be super happy with this as my best copy for sure.
Yeah. All right, so this 9.5 Maradona that looks narrow.
Yeah, I think we all in the Discord decided that this was pretty clearly trimmed when you compare it to other copies. So it's disappointing to see that one.
But the price represents that, right? Like a lot of people didn't bid. If that was truly a 9.5, that would go for a lot more, wouldn't it?
I think so, but it's still way stronger. At least 2 people didn't know it was trimmed, right?
Yeah.
Because paying $25,000 for a trimmed card.
Yep. That's very true.
Especially in if it's a 1897 trimmed card with a total pop of 3, you're like whatever,
right.
But here it feels like someone who's done this before got to the card and did a really nice job. But definitely thin borders.
Yeah, it's like obvious. I think so. All right, so here we go. We have the PSA 7 Maradona disc for just under $200,
and that is overgraded. This is where they bought the holder. If you look at this, click on it. Look at the right. Just if you can get a high res, I don't know. It's a nice solid image, and a lot of them don't have this solid image. But if you look at these little dots on the right,
right over here,
some staining, and that shouldn't be there. So at the very least, it should be a 7 ST, a stain, and to my eyes, again, not a professional grader, but this is clear to me that was somebody buying the holder, which, if it's a fractional, maybe they don't care.
Yeah, that's valid. They're just looking for the biggest number. All right, so then we have the 2, big rookies. The Mega Cracks for Messi, PSA 10 goes for $312. The Cristiano Ronaldo goes for $144. We've had some conversations on this, and it's a little surprising. I guess there's a higher percentage of Ronaldos that have a 10. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think there's like double. Yeah. But it had been selling better than the Messi in comparable grades.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the difference is here is the Messi. I mean, the Ronaldo in particular looked soft for a 10, from what I recall.
Okay.
So I think the market punished that potential overgrading there. And I don't really know what happened with the Messi because I thought it was going to go for a lot less than this. It's not. It's also not, to my eyes, the absolute most perfect 10 you've ever seen. So, but it certainly held its value relative to the last sale, which I think was also slightly north of this. I think like 325 in my mind. So hey, it's an elite sale. I think it's good for the hobby.
Yes.
To have still a $300,000 sale in this environment, and that's basically selling like the PSA 10 above the PSA 10 Jordans. I think right now, which I think I was seeing some in the high twos, maybe low threes, but before you were talking about this was selling at 300 and the Jordans were selling at 6, 7, 800.
Right.
And now they're basically on par. So that's good for the overall soccer market.
Yeah, it's just nice to see that there's people still willing to pay $300,000, and that for a softer, messy market overall. But this it's still a card, but it's nice to see that there's people willing to throw the money around a little bit.
Yeah, and same with that Maradona, $200,000. I wouldn't have been surprised. Forget about the condition. If a 7 was hit $100,000, I don't think I would have been entirely disappointed. Even if it was a real 7, and then you're talking about maybe an overgraded 7 at double that. Wow, that's some serious money.
Yeah, there's definitely still people hunting those GOAT cards, So, but yeah, it's a good sign. Hopefully that trickles down. I'm sure it will. But okay, and then we have the 9.5 Messi that goes for about an eighth. Of the price. So
and if you looked at the cards carefully, I think if it was just the card, no slab, I would have chosen this one of the 3.
Yeah.
It was just really sharp, and then the 10 would have been my second choice, and then the 9. So, there is some, question of buy the card or buy the slab, and the market is saying buy the slab still.
Yeah. Unfortunately. And then we have the PSA 6 Beckenbauer goes for $12K. I mean, it's one of the biggies, from that era. So definitely the off center is probably the big hit of that card. But
yeah,
I mean, I feel like we've seen similar grades sell for a similar amount. So I don't think anything changed since last month, at least. I think we saw a 6 sell last month, didn't we?
Yeah, and maybe it was like 14. I
just think it was in that same range.
Yeah, the centering here is a little, to my eyes, slightly bothersome to pay a this premium.
Ray says that you said you'd submit your Sinclair Bloomer to the Premier auction.
That's not.
We're looking forward to seeing what that goes for, Al.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to see Ray's 51 Fangio, cola at the auction too.
All right, well, it's gonna be an exciting time with you guys submitting all your biggies. So, yeah, that's that for PWCC last month. I think the new one just started today, so I didn't really dig in to see what was available yet, but we got the next month to look
digest.
Yes. So if anybody's bidding on anything, good luck, and Ray, get those submissions in. All right, now we're gonna head over to Golden. And slow old guy trying to figure out how to do this.
It's all good, man. The people
it's not that like this professional.
Yeah, the people are patient, Bill. The people are patient.
Oh, good. Appreciate it, guys. Ray says he may or may not have something in the works, Al.
Oh, there you go. I like the sound of that.
Yes. So, yeah. All right. So I think it looks like, I don't know how this is working. Are all the lot numbers, they're not based on sport, correct? it just kind of bounces around.
Yeah, unfortunately. But if you go to the category on the left-hand side,
I did do that, and so it looks like we have, I don't know. Well, we'll just go with what we have, and then if you didn't see something, let me know. We'll figure it out. So we're gonna start at this Messi and work our way up again. So we have the PSA 10 Messi sticker for 52. I mean, that seems low, you know, for at least based on like my experience and or my belief in that how rare it is to get a 10 in those stickers. And I mean, I understand that there's the, you know, kind of the negative undertones about that sticker, but I mean, it is a PSA 10, and there's not many of them. I mean,
yeah,
is there a double digit season?
It's the rarest rookie, right? By pop.
Yeah.
You know, it does have not nearly as much as the Ronaldo, but it does have a question of whether there were some fakes around, which I think has just dampened this. But clearly, for original Este stickers in PSA 10, I think, man, that's definitely one you want to stretch for.
So Ray just said that, I believe he's talking about this Messi, that it's the same sticker that sold at Heritage last month for $56K.
Yeah, so they probably, you know, either saw something they didn't like, realized they couldn't afford it, and took, you know, basically for the seller there, you know, they're basically in the low 40s, so they took like a 12K hit in a month. That seems like pain.
Yeah, or maybe they did more research after they bought it, and they, you know, maybe weren't super comfortable having it, or they were, like Ray says in the next comment, you know, maybe they were just trying to flip it and at like a more, you know, because it's more visible at Golden, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes moving forward, but I just feel like it's kind of like a sleeping giant to me. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I also, it's always been my second favorite one, but you know, one that you felt like was going to be pop constrained because so many got pasted into the album.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just the questions on, you know, what is out there in terms of, you know, the fakes of that, you know, I think that there's going to be a damper on that for a while until the market doesn't see any new fakes come into the market.
Yeah, once it kind of settles down. I mean, there's still, it feels like the Ronaldo is still kind of been, you know, tempered because of that. And
Absolutely. Like a 9.5 BGS 9.5 sold for $9,000.
yeah, it's crazy.
BGS 9.5, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, hey, what one relevant thing on to all of us is, and I think we this is more for the people who aren't on the Discord. So there's it's Larati PSA 2 in the PWCC this month, right?
Yep. So that will be interesting to see where that finishes. But we're gonna get to the SGC 1 pretty soon. So, all right. I haven't really been paying attention to the 70 Panini, the PSA 8 Pele for 6K. That's seems like it's kind of. Is it a little less than what we've been seeing, or?
Yeah, I would say that's a little less than what we've been seeing, but so is most stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I don't think it's like a massive, you know, discount, and I don't recall where the last leaf of Pele 6 sold for, but that also doesn't seem like a massive discount, does it?
It doesn't to me. I'm gonna pull it up on the PSA and see if they've updated, and then if not, maybe I'll check the PWCC. So it says 148 was the last one that the PSA site has, and that was gold in October of 2021.
Okay.
So it's sold for more than it did 8 months ago,
Which
by a decent amount.
Which is what I'd say in this market. That's pretty damn good performance.
Yeah, we've kind of seen it slow. I mean, at least I believe, or it feels like we've seen it slow down, like the bigger cards getting sold, the Pele's. Would you agree with that? Like we haven't seen those
and I think that's kind of a good thing for the market. And we had mentioned, hey, listen, you're gonna, when a big price comes out, which was, I don't remember what the big one was, public, like a PSA 7 or a SGC 7, I don't know, for like 40 grand that Court won.
Yeah.
And then it just brought so many to market, like month after month, because everybody went looking for them. And yeah, some of them got absorbed by Court, and I'm sure he's sold a couple, but he probably still holds a lot. But I think now the frequency that we're seeing them is definitely going down, and if that's penting up the demand, that's going to have a result in the sale. In fact, I was contemplating selling one of my lower grade ones just to kind of recapitalize a lot of the stuff I've been putting out. Not that I don't believe in the card, but it certainly seems like that's definitely holding up. And if I can sell something that's holding up that isn't a dream part of my PC and get other things that are, it seems like a good trade to me.
Yeah, it's still good when you can feel good about it when you're selling something that's still solid in price. It always hurts when you're like, man, it's down 30% or something like that. PWCC's last sale for a PSA 6 was in December, and it was 180.
So even still, I think that's good news, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's good to see. All right, and then we saw a few new things. We have the this is the regular Bruguera Campeones Di Stefano for 1,200.
This one was poorly cut, and
totally.
And I didn't know how that got a 2. Like it seems like every time I submit, I get weird things like I get like this. Like it's like perfect card 1. And then this one that's like clearly miscut, like 2, like whatever, with no qualifiers. So.
I mean, it says hand cut, so I guess they're giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. That guy was drunk, but it's still good, man. It was still well done.
He got it cut. It's not.
He got it cut, so it's a good, man.
So we haven't seen many of those. It felt like those were at least reasonably attainable, like back in the day, but I can't say I've seen one of those for sale in a long time.
Yeah, that is true. Like I would say that we would have normally said, "Oh, that's nice." I think when we started this channel, we were telling people, "Oh, go get them. You can get them for like $50, $75, $100, depending on the condition." You may have to deal with some that aren't perfect on the back. And I think it was one of the very first things we were telling people: go get some of these oddball 53 Di Stefanos, and to see one so poorly cut bring in 1,200. I'd say, if you're a grinder, grind on Toto and see what you can find.
Yeah, totally. There's still deals there because I'm watching things and I'm almost like I'm starting to like get the itch to just start pulling monster triggers over at Toto, and I mean they're not all Di Stefanos, but just like pre-war Spanish stuff and things like that. So
yeah, it's funny. I usually binge. Like if I go on and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy some stuff from Spain today. It's not like one thing. It's like 5 orders, and
Yeah, I look to see who I'm watching, like who's selling the most of what I'm watching, and then I just go like hammer like everything on their list, on my list that seller's selling, and so you don't have to worry about one shipment.
Yeah.
So, all right, here we go. Here's the making Daddy proud. Us pre-war collectors, really, really are happy to see some movement and pre-war cards, hitting 5 figures and with authority, not like squeaking in with like a 10-1. It's over 30K for a very rare Miazza, rookie. It looks like a good one to me. It's definitely miscut, but it's still a nice. It doesn't look destroyed or anything, So, like, I think it's a pretty solid. You can feel comfortable that you're not getting a hunk of crap. And you and I have been talking about it on our shows. Like, he's that pre-war player that I feel is just like the guy who could compete with more recent players. He's, I think, the pinnacle of stardom for pre-war field players, right? And at least in my mind. And so it's really good to see that he's the first one to kind of cross that line and kind of say, hello, we're here. And
especially in a card that's not what's the word?
It's not like known to collectors. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's somewhat obscure. Well, not somewhat. I mean, to most collectors, I would imagine it's completely obscure card.
Yeah.
Those of us who've been around have said, "Man, this thing is nice."
I mean, he looks like he's 12.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, this is a big number. I also, talked about this at the beginning of the year. I forecasted we were gonna see a 5-figure pre-war soccer card sale, not knowing what it was, and in the end, there were some of those, at least privately, that I think that I know about, although I never confirmed the actual transaction. But it's nice to see a really clear public sale blowing away that threshold.
Right.
I've always thought there were sales more than 10,000 that were just private. So
I have zero doubt on that. Yeah.
But seeing it in a public place is really good for the hobby, and I think provides a lot of momentum for these, elite player, elite cards, good eye appeal. Although some people said they don't like how this card looks, which I'm not in that camp. I like this card a lot.
My dog is barking at that opinion even.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, that's what I would do too. I bark at those people.
Where my dog's at?
Yeah.
So yeah. Deej. All right. So okay. Sweet card. Now I got to scroll back to where we were because of this website. Can you just take me back to where I was? If there's anybody from Golden watching, that's my request. All right.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so here's an example of where I feel like people actually, bid. They didn't bid the grade, they bid the card or sticker. Like this Aquarela Pele is just beat.
Painful.
And it went for 2,400, which is what like a PSA 1 might actually, it might be less than what a PSA 1 sells for.
Yeah.
So I think that's legit because I think it is arguably a really not so good PSA 1. So good to see that people are doing that in a lot of ways. Here's that 9.5 you're talking about of the Ronaldo.
9,000, yeah.
9,000. I mean, it's just the BGS on top of it being, that questionable sticker.
And this is a really good looking sticker, and I'm 100% convinced that this particular copy is real. So that's a hell of a deal. And I think Paulo won it because
nice.
He also knows, he can tell these really, the real ones very easily, and he's like, man, too good of a copy to pass up at that price.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that buy. I wish I could tell the difference. All right, here we go. These records, always, I don't understand the grading when it comes to those, whether it's a 9 or not. I'm not arguing that, but I just feel like there's no consistency with those because some of the borders are so big, some of them are so small. What's a 9, what's a 3? Just on this particular issue, it's really tough for me. So I think you kind of see all of the prices kind of get or all the grades are kind of crunched together, you know, and cost. So you don't see like, you know, if it was a different sticker or card, you know, there'd be a bigger spread between all the grades. But I think that, you know, I think the market in general kind of agrees with me that it's really hard to determine that. So we just kind of see a smaller multiplier as the grades go up.
Yep, I think that's right. And did you notice that number? This upper deck went for 30 grand. That's you know, for a non-rookie. I know it's rookie kind of close-ish.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
That's solid, yeah. But also a 10, because you know, there's probably a very small percentage of the 99 that actually would get a 10. So you got those hunters for that as well. So
right.
But yeah, I mean that's a solid price for like a after rookie year issue. You know,
and when you think about it, it's kind of back to what you said. Hey, somebody sitting around with $30,000 said, "Hey, I can go buy a new car, or I can buy, you know, a 99 non-rookie, non-signed Ronaldo." And
yeah, that's promising, right?
Yeah, and they chose the non-rookie Ronaldo, this number. So, you know, I think that to me is kind of a big deal. And some of these nice, you know, ultra modern cards, you know, are trading, you know, 20, 30, 40,000, and we don't stop on most of them, but you know, it's hard not to notice that the market's definitely gravitating to some of this, what I'll call nice stuff.
Yeah, low number.
Even if it's artificial scarcity, you know, it's still working in the market.
Well, even like on that PWCC, and I was going to talk about it a little bit, but those like autograph cards of Messi and Ronaldo, like the double patch Ronaldo, and then the Barcelona patch Messi, like those things sold. I mean, those are pulling crazy numbers, and I mean, not crazy bad. Like I think it's legit. You know, I mean, those are sweet cards with on card auto, and but yeah, I think all of that kind of stuff, like you say, is just it's pulling the money. That's where the money is getting focused right now, and it's probably where it should be getting focused, honestly.
Yeah, so those were cool. Like look at that World Cup Prism. I know this is a card that the hobby really likes.
Yes.
Not completely my thing, but there's 25 of these green crystal, you know, parallels, and there's so many other parallels. But if you look at that, you know, you just say, wow, $36,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like I always wanted. I was gonna buy one, and then the boom hit, like, you know, the real boom hit, and like those things went from like a few $100 to like thousands, and I'm like, I missed that train, you know. But like, I think it's cool to have both of them on the card, but at the same time, it's, you know, I see the pros and cons of those, and
I mean, I like the card. I never picked one up because exactly the same reason you're like. I mean, even at a couple $100, I'm like, I'll go buy some Cindelars. You know, so
sounds so obvious.
You know, so but obviously you would have done really well if you would have been just, you know, picking up those cards.
Sure.
You know, and you know, but even to me, even in a prism correction, these things are just remaining strong. So
yeah,
that again, even though it's not our segment, I think it's talking about the strength of quality, low number, you know, exclusive parallels, elite players, you know, condition rarities and true rarities. I mean, you know, at the upper echelon of the hobby, you know, I still feel things are good in soccer.
Yep, I agree. So this 5 Maradona,
so
35K.
You know, off center, but nice colors. So, you know, in one way, when I looked at this one, I'm like, inexpensive and expensive. You know, but both ways. And I think there's another PSA 5 in the next PWCC as well. So it's really just personal preference. In general, you know, there's like 100 of these graded. It's super hard to get on, you know, never stuck. So, and I like the visual on this. I like the story behind him nearly making the Argentine team. If so, he would have had a couple World Cups under his belt, and just, I don't know. This sticker has a lore for me that makes it my second favorite Maradona card.
Oh yeah, I'd agree with that. It's definitely my number 2 for him. And the back on that's like super clean when I looked at it. So not often you see that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like this Ronaldo 8 seems super low, doesn't it?
Super low. Yeah. I mean, when I actually refresh the auction, I'm like, the one, if I had $3,000 in my pocket in the auction, I would have taken this one.
Yeah.
It just looked really clean. You always worry about the waviness in the stickers and the BGS slabs, but I felt like this one was worth the risk. And wouldn't it all be surprised if this one crossed to a PSA 8.5 even?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked really good, and that it just seems super low for that card or that sticker to me. All right, and so we have this Messi, another PSA 9, pretty similar to what PWCC sold for, I believe.
I think they were like 24. Was that right?
Yeah. So I mean, give or take, I mean, it's not. It's within the range of reasonableness.
Yeah. What's $4,000 between friends, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a Sarosi. But nobody knows who that is, so it doesn't matter. Okay, Heinerly PSA 5 for 2,700. That seems less than what I recall seeing.
Yeah, this is a crappy 5 though.
It is. Yeah,
should have been a 3.
Just looking up in this corner. Yeah.
Like when I look at this thing, I'm like, man, this shouldn't today. I don't know how this got a 5, but I felt like this was a 2.
Yeah, okay. I didn't expect that one too close. So yeah. Well, that makes sense then. Here's the 9.5 Messi. I believe the other one sold for this one for 26. The one at PWCC sold for what, 32?
40. 42.
No.
Wasn't it 42?
No. I think it was
30. 40. 40. Yeah, okay.
Because I said 1/8, right? Oh yeah, you might be right.
I thought it sold for 40. Let me go check.
All right. Well.
Yeah. Why don't we go on while I'm checking?
Okay. All right. Well, doesn't seem to be. Oh, here's the kind of jacked up Cruyff.
This was
Calorex for $12K.
And I know some people were like, "Oh, I'm thinking I'm going to bid. What a bargain!" And I'm like, "No, it's like there's somebody spilled acid on this thing."
Yeah, like the discoloration down here is like amazing. Yeah, I would rather have like a PSA 2, that didn't look like that on the front. And I would feel a lot better about what I was paying, and I would save money.
It was the Messi BGS 9.5 was 41,000.
Oh dear God, my brain is dead. So yeah, so that's a substantial difference, right? Like this one went for 20, but I mean, it speaks to the quality of that other 9.5, right? Because you had said that was the one you liked the best, and so
that was a really good 9.5. Yeah, that was a really good 9.5. So that's what I do like, is I do feel like a lot of people are looking at the cards now. The reality is we shouldn't have to.
Correct.
Right? It's like this. Click on that Maradona 4. So this one, it has the paper loss on the front.
Yeah, I mean, that's horrible. This is like egregiously poor grading. Like this is a 1.
Yeah. I mean, I sold this raw for like $500, expecting a 1 right around the boom. And then somebody smartly sent it to PSA. I will keep the name quiet, and took their $500 and made $8,000 off it. Yeah,
that's pretty shocking, the grade. So that's gonna be the challenge over these the last few years, because we just know that there were so many untrained graders at every company.
This isn't a DSA or SGC or BGS.
Yeah, I'm not bashing anybody in particular. I'm just bashing everybody. Like I mean, I get it, because you gotta pump this stuff out because you're so backed up. So your first thought is we have to just the turnover. We have to get this stuff in and out, but it leads to just lack of quality control. And they skipped steps. They didn't do the quality checks that they should have been doing. They didn't have the skilled people to do the quality checks, I'm sure. And now that things are starting to cool off, these people can actually get properly trained. These people can they can keep the good ones and maybe move aside the ones that aren't so good. But there's definitely needs to be something that the grading companies do to maybe ensure the quality of the grades, because I think that they're gonna take a hit in people's perceptions of them just based on what we've been seeing these last couple of years. And I think that if the big company is not careful, they could lose a little prestige. You know what I mean? And it looks like some of these other companies are really gunning for them, and which is good to see because we want competition. So so that's a good thing, and hopefully they all improve and learn from this. So
yeah, and I think competition generally makes people better.
Yep.
Companies better. So I think this is good. I mean, but you can see on your screen what a gap, right? So you've got an SGC 9.5.
Yeah.
Selling for 3,600. Now I know
that's ludicrously low.
Versus the 50,000 for the PSA 10. Now the reality is there was some concerns over the sticker that this particular copy, not necessarily being authentic. By the way, the two things next to that, I was the underbidder on and wanted both the Hand of God ticket and the little Maradona identity thing, but in the end, it got a little too rich for me.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't get those. But I think that this Messi is actually kind of in line with PSA 8s are going for low 2,000s right now.
Really? So, wow, it's dropped that much?
Yeah, because I bought mine at 4K, and I was like, oh, I think I got a pretty good deal, and now I'm at 50% or maybe 60% max. And,
wow, that's a fall from grace.
So that kind of makes me think that this isn't so terribly bad, because let's say the SGC 9.5 is a PSA 8.5. You know what I mean? Then you're not that far off then, right?
Yeah.
Just even giving them the one grade. I didn't really inspect the sticker, so I don't know if that's accurate. But some point being is I don't think it's that terribly off compared to what the PSA 8s have sold. Because that's probably the equivalent of a price of a 8.5 or, I mean, it's a 9 would go for substantially more, I believe. But
yeah. Well, let's I just keep an eye on the sticker. I think it's a bellwether for the hobby. It's a great, sticker. I think you can always, there's optimists and pessimists, right? And I always feel like I think there's always opportunities in up markets and in down markets. So it's just about, calibrating that and going after the stuff, that you want. Don't get super carried away. I mean, think about this camera, even on the rare stuff, when you were bidding, we're like, hey, you know what? Don't go crazy insane, because even if you may have to wait a while,
there'll be another one.
There will be another one, right? So maybe 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, but there will be another one, and it may be a better copy, and the market may be different, and don't waste it. And then it was a couple days later, right? So, I think that that you said a word that is really important, which is discipline. Know what you're missing, know what you're willing to pay. It's a great time to be disciplined, but also it's a great time, I think, to be putting money to work in the market if you believe in soccer long term.
Yeah, and I know we're almost propaganda pitchers at this point, just because of our belief in the market. You know what I mean? It's you and I have been bullish from the start, and we're probably we're less reactionary when the tides move in or out, just because we've seen it for so long. So it's just like anything, right? It's like when you're investing in the financial markets, and if you're young and we're in a recession, that's a great thing, not a bad thing. You want to be buying this stuff at low, right? So it's a matter of your buyer or seller, I guess. And
yeah.
so hopefully this is a good month for you guys, and hopefully we get our July done in July this year this time. So but whatever, it's summer. We're all moving a little we're all on holiday vacation a little bit. So
Absolutely.
So yeah, appreciate everybody watching. Anything else, Al?
No, I mean, I just have fun out there collecting. Don't forget, I think it can be a little down if you bought a card like you're saying for $4,000. Now it's worth, if you were to sell it, $2,000. Don't forget why the vast majority of us do this. I mean, the collecting's fun, the player, the history, and now we have the actual camaraderie with the Discord, and you get to see a lot of interesting stuff now on Instagram, and there's getting to be more and more content for soccer out there.
That's awesome. Like, I mean, it's so cool to see people kind of jumping out there and doing their thing. It's like, good for you guys. Like, that's what we want. The more people talking about it, the better.
Yeah. So that's when I think about this, I just feel like we're still in a great spot. I mean, you could also look at it if you were just a Messi collector and you're just in it for the money. I could understand how it's been a little depressing in the last 12 months.
Sure.
But I don't think that's most people, at least most people that get in touch with me. I feel like we've got a great group of collectors, global collectors, who are really passionate about this, who are really passionate about the history, passionate about getting things right. We still have a ways to go as a hobby for dates and accuracy and even finding new things. So I think that it's a process. Sometimes you can get hurt in that process, but if you take it to the high level, it's a great hobby, super fun, amazingly diverse in terms of things to collect and people to interact with, which is super fun. So don't lose sight of that. Even if you've lost a few bucks in your portfolio. And a loss is never a loss until you sell. So just also keep that in mind.
And I think you brought up an important point, was like how, in soccer in particular, we don't have a lot of information. There's a lot of information that we're slowly acquiring. Like, for example, there's some in the Discord, and members of the Discord were kind of thinking that there were particular issues of Eusebio that were not the years that, the grading companies had reported on the flip. And, cards that you think are a particular year, it could easily change one way or the other. And so that's just part of collecting soccer. So, you just kind of roll with the punches. I mean, how many times do we buy cards thinking that we were buying a rookie, and then we find out there's like cards from 5 years prior? Like, it's just, I mean, it was like, you guys see it like once every few months. So we used to see it like once every few days.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say at least 50, probably 100 times.
Yeah.
So
it just happens, and it sucks. But that also means that when you go in to buy stuff, you need to be aware that that's the potential, that what you're buying, according to the grading companies or according to what we say, could change. So it's just part of the collecting of especially vintage soccer. So that being said, thanks everybody for watching. We made it just under an hour, which is pretty awesome. Al, talk soon.
Yeah, take care, everybody, and take care, Bill.